On today's show, we're heading down on the farm where the cash crop has hooves but not horns, and they don't say moo.
Hi, I'm Belinda Jensen with my dog Keely. Tonight we're going to give you a little dog history and also show you how one of the smartest dogs in the country is trained.
What's it like to catch jaws? A shark on the end of the line is nothing like a walleye. It's a fish story like no other. Those stories and more next.
Reporting from the North Country, here's Ron Shera and Raven, the black lab.
Hi, everybody. Raven and I welcome you to the show. You know, Raven and I have spent many, many days on farms, especially those with pheasants, right, Raven? But in our first story, we're going to a Minnesota farm where the livestock looks like, well, you're in the mountains of Colorado.
Very little goes wrong with them. You know, they're really self-sufficient as far as calving. You know, you might have to pull a calf, you know, 1 out of 100 or something, or even less.
The farm old McDonald had is nothing like the 185-acre farm that Gary Tank has. Instead of cows mooing, Tank's farm pastures look like a scene from Yellowstone National Park. These elk are the domesticated versions of their wild brethren of America's West. But a herd of elk cooling off in a Minnesota farm pond is also symbolic of something else, change.
There's a lot more farmers doing it. When my grandfather and father started, there was very few people doing it. And even as early as the 1990s, there was probably only about 60 elk farms in the state of Minnesota. And right now, here we are, and there's about 600 elk farms in the state of Minnesota.
Tank, whose grandfather and father started deer farming decades ago, says the growing interest in non-traditional farming is due to one thing, money. While corn and soybean prices stay low, the demand for elk products, and thus profits, is increasing.
There's the meat market for it. There's the hard antler for decorative purposes, chandeliers and lamps. Of course, the velvet market.
Live elk prices range from $300 for calves to upwards of $2,000 for cows. The price of bulls depends on the genetics behind that crown of antlers.
So you could have a bull that may be worth $1,000, and you may have one that be worth $100,000. So there's a wide range on elk, yeah.
That much?
That much.
While elk meat is low in fat and considered a delicacy, it's the elk's antlers that are in demand around the world.
I could sell them every day, all day. $8 to about $15 a pound on the small to medium stuff. But then once you get into, say, that medium to large stuff, they may be $20, $25 a pound. The Asian market prefers the velvet versus the hardhorn stage here.
In the Orient, elk antlers in velvet are in high demand.
And they make all these different medicines out of it, some 2,000 different medicinal purposes for it, whether it be aphrodisiac, as we Americans always remember what that is, but there's also high blood pressure, aches and pains, and the list goes on and on.
Raising elk instead of Herefords doesn't change some farm chores, of course. There's still feeding time. And while watching your prized livestock, there's time to dream.
Are there $50,000 bulls in here?
I wish.
I wonder if there's a future for elephant farms, huh? Well, coming up next, Belinda Jensen has an interesting story about dog competition. Raven, you pay attention now.
Well, thanks, Ron and Raven. Here's Keely. I know you've met him before. Keely's a Kuvaz. This is my dog. And, you know, Kuvazes actually have a very interesting history. They were developed in the early 1400s by King Matthias of Hungary to protect the homestead and also, of course, the sheep, and that's why they're white. They have 7 coats. They're loner dogs. They lived in the snow in the highlands of Hungary, and obviously very protective. Well, another breed of dog that has a long history with sheep, of course, are Border Collies. So let's head down to Red Wing, where the dog trials for sheep are underway.
Easy!
This is a tale about how man's best friend can become a best friend even to sheep.
The dogs love to do this, and this is what they're bred to do.
But today in Red Wing, it's become a sport.
Easy, easy.
These handlers are learning how to work with Border Collies. And when you're first starting out, anything goes.
Yeah, sometimes you'll have a bad run, a bag pick of sheep, or sometimes it's the handler. Most of the time it's the handler, it's not the dog.
The work performed, as the handlers call it, requires the dogs drive the sheep from a starting post through an obstacle course and into a pen. All this in a 4-minute round, and the dogs are scored by time and performance.
And when they send their dog out, we're judging for what we call the outrun, which is the actual going to the sheep. And what I'm watching for is how the dog does that.
She needs to ask the dog up a little bit closer right now to move the sheep.
I think the uniqueness is it's a sport where you have a lot of camaraderie between people from all different walks of life. The animal has to have trust in you, and you have to have trust in the animal.
You know, that's so true, and if you have a dog, you know that obedience is completely dependent on the loyalty between the dog and the owner. With my dog Keely, I'm Belinda Jensen.
Still ahead, meet the DNR's latest weapon in the woods. It's a robotic deer with moves of its own. Find out how Robo Deer helps stop poachers and saves wildlife.
Hello to our
Remember the summer of shark attacks? Old friend Jose Wahebe takes us on a shark fishing trip to see a different side of this fish of Jaws. Will this one land in the boat?